Hello, myself Sunil Ramakrishnan Nair, and here basically we are discussing about the topic basically that says that how basically earthquake is going to come basically. So one basically topic we have discussed, that is basically the uh, earthquake basically are connected with the earthquake basically is connected with the earthquake basically are connected with the set of stories basically. Then one person told that basically, do you have the list of currently the time is basically 12:35. So 12:25, 12:35. Between 12:30, 25 and 35. Basically, how many stories basically are generated in this world basically? Do you have the list basically? And he told that basically how basically. Few people says that with nuclear power company in few country basically they generates the story basically. Means whatever they story basically writes in the environment. According to that only basically the people do that type of thing basically also basically happens. So the nuclear power company says that basically we don't require this type of software only. So that type of countries are also basically there basically. They are basically most of a human clone country basically. So one person literally asked one more question basically. Do you have the list of basically how many countries are basically human clone? Only human clone basically people stay there. For example, I had taken one example of 5 crore, 5 crore human people, 5 crore human clones was generated basically due to some uh, for some specific purpose. Then he told that yes basically. So exactly that same way basically. Do one person asked the question basically, do we have the list of human clones basically which country basically is having? So there are many countries basically. 10 percentage countries basically are like this only, that are basically the human clones. That are basically human clone country. That are basically human clone country basically. That are basically human clone country. That are basically human clone country. And they basically are controlled by set of groups basically. They are basically controlled by set of groups. So they are basically controlled by set of groups. So how they controls that basically we have already discussed basically. And in this world basically there are 900, 800 crore people basically. Each people what activities they are doing, that basically are also basically logged in the computer basically. Up to this basically bad basically the world basically has reached. It's basically very bad basically. It's basically very bad. Basically, one of the person basically told that basically this all basically is telling that this is the basically the data science project basically. So from there basically they gets the all the basically data basically for data science project. One person basically what currently last 2 days before basically what he has eaten, what basically his activity is basically done. So like this basically all things basically are basically dumped in that computer. Yeah? And one person told that basically world wise is basically where it's going to reach. Then one person basically literally asked, told from universe basically the Earth planet whatever activity is doing basically that all also basically we are tracking in one of the satellite basically that which all activity the Earth planet has generated. Earth planet has generated means which all nuclear power company basically has passed the energy basically that basically which type of energy basically it has generated. So main thing is basically the easiest way basically to understand thing is basically the story basically, right? That this is the story basically according to that basically the things basically get generates because this is the most easiest way basically. Medical basically is also like that basically. For example, malaria. Malaria basically disease came from which story basically? Chikungunya basically. Head chakkar basically. The brain basically gets chakkar basically. Then eye basically get damaged. Head basically get damaged. Blood cancer basically, each and every body cancer basically. From where this all basically story got generated? Without basically story, basically the disease basically can't generate, na, basically. Because if human is there, basically, then the stories are also basically there. So from where basically this all story basically generated? There was no basically answer from the software company also. Basically. Few basically answer might be there basically, like malaria basically how the story basically got generated, and malaria basically who basically due to basically which story basically the malaria disease basically came, and um, which all certification basically has generated the disease basically. That type of basically danger, it's basically literally this type of all data basically 100% the medical departments have basically. For example, one person told that basically there is MBA degree, there is doctor degree, there is lawyer degree, there is economics degree, there is professor degree. So this whole degree basically have, one person is hard working doing degree, that is also basically degree. So which all basically disease get generates. For example, one person is doing MBA, is connecting to that thousand basically cities, generating the energies. That is by default basically going to happen. That is by default going to happen. Then how many basically the, if it's going to happen, then basically 100% the blood cells is going to generate. After blood cells generate basically, after blood cells basically generate, which type of process basically happens from his body basically, which type of process basically happens from his body basically. Process means basically which type of blood cells basically get generated, and after generating that blood cells basically, which type of blood cells process basically happens, and after that basically processing basically, which type of basically blood, body disease basically gets generates basically. Which all disease basically gets generates, which all disease basically gets generates basically. So these all are basically literally very question basically, which basically don't have any answer only basically. If one person will say that basically, uh, so one person basically told that basically political people actually what they are doing here basically. They are doing this only, no, basically. They are doing the story basically. One person told that basically malaria basically that disease has started, yeah, basically. Then they know basically that this story basically has activated from the malaria group. So they immediately basically do the action, yeah, basically. So they immediately basically jump into the action basically. Government group basically. That's basically the government group basically. Then one of the person told that basically you can't control the sports industry basically. Government, one of the person basically asked the question. Then they told that yeah, you have already taken the investment basically. Now basically it's very difficult to control the stock sports group basically. So one day basically they will sit in our chair also basically. Literally basically one of the political person told that also basically. One day the basically they are going to sit in our chair also basically, and they will say that basically do this, do that basically. That basically mostly basically this type of thing basically never happens. But then also it's possible basically. Anything basically is possible, na, basically. Because this is story basically, in story basically any type of story basically can generate any time basically. For example, currently there is no earthquake in India basically. It's quite possible that after some time basically the after a few minutes basically earthquake will come. Just taking as an example, basically in real basically not happen. But after that earthquake basically the set of stories which will get generated. That basically never basically have thought by the government. But the NASA and ISRO basically know that which type of power supply has been passed due to the story basically has generated of earthquake. But sometimes basically NASA group also basically NASA and ISRO group also basically don't know that this type of story is going to generate. That is basically the activation of satellites basically. When the satellite basically immediately gets effect, then the earthquake basically happen. That story basically NASA and ISRO also don't know. So that kind of story basically will get generated. So it's very dangerous actually. This thing basically is not very not so Not little bit dangerous, but very dangerous. So that type of thing basically are also there basically. That type of thing are also basically there. For example, one person told that basically, yeah, I went to this Mumbai city, and then basically I thought that basically I will 100% get the job, yeah, but I had not got the job basically, yeah. So that was story. He basically, when he went from, assume that basically I am that person. I went from Vadodara city, and basically I thought that basically everything basically done, pack, basically everything basically I had taken, and then basically I thought that basically I will 100% get the job. According to that, basically I went, but there basically the situation was totally different. Basically, there the situation basically was, so there basically what happened in Mumbai city basically, which the story was basically, I went to Mumbai city, means for Sunil Arnair went to Mumbai city from the railway or basically wherever basically, with this train, that train basically, by bus or basically plane basically, whatever basically. Then basically I stay basically in one of the PG or basically lodge or basically hotel, wherever basically. Then basically I started searching the job basically. This whole story basically, this whole story basically has generated basically according to Mumbai Energy. Assume that basically Mumbai that time basically was giving around 135 country basically was giving power supply to Mumbai basically. When I went to the Mumbai basically, assume, just assume basically, real basically it can be 35 country also basically. So then basically told that basically, then he started applying for it. He went there basically, went there. Basically. Few consultant also basically contacted. Then also basically he was not getting job. Then basically he realized that basically, basically I had not got the job, yeah, basically. So that story generated. So is this anything going to happen to this that story basically? Nothing is going to happen. Why? Because the nuclear power company says that we have washed out that energy only basically. But that thing, that time basically assume that, just assume that around uh, 3 lakh planet basically was moving from near the Earth planet. 3 lakh planet basically were moving from the Earth planet. That time they basically captured that data basically. 3 lakh planet. So anything is going to happen basically that to that 3 lakh planet basically. Nothing basically is going to happen. When Earth planet will move that side basically to that story basically, I had told that 5 crore story. 5 crore people basically has basically converted to converted to human, from human souls. That time basically, that basically human souls basically has created for that particular movement basically, means Earth planet is going to move that side. For that side basically, one project manager designed the entire plan for these 5 crore people basically. That basically we have already discussed. So when this basically energy is going to generate, when this Earth planet is going to move that side, that time this energy is going to be already generated. Satellite group are going to place their data into, data means energy, into that side basically, so that basically Earth planet can move easily. But that time basically it's not sure basically, right? That Earth planet is 100% going to move securely. Why? Because you can't predict the future basically in the universe basically. Anything basically can happen. Assume that basically that time basically when the Earth planet was moving that side, that time basically the 3 lakh planet basically were basically captured that story of Sunilar Nair. That also basically they passed from there basically. Passed from that basically. So when basically the 3 lakh basically people were, sorry, 3 lakh planet basically was collecting the story basically of the Sunil Nair. I had taken just my example basically. In real, basically in Mumbai, basically lakhs of story basically gets generated, so that it should be easy to understand. That's why basically I'm taking myself example only. So my story was generated in that 3 lakh planets basically. Process has happened basically of 3 lakh planet. So something basically might have generated in there basically. Something might have generated. So what might be that generated basically? That we will see in next video basically. And basically when the 5 crore basically energy, 5 crore people's basically energy is going to merge to that location where the earth planet is going to move. That time assume that 3 crore this 3 lakh planet basically was moving that side, and the process basically has also basically happened. So what are the things basically going to affect basically? Is anything going to affect, or basically nothing is going to affect? That we will discuss in the next video basically.